Hello, all. This is Farhana. Welcome to my channel. Today, I'm going to talk about what are the misleading concepts about work life balance. So, what is work life balance? Everyone talks about it, but hardly anyone managed to find a satisfactory way of dealing with their own work life balance. Is this because the perfect life balance is a myth? Let's try to find out. There are several misconceptions about it. First misleading concept is that work and life are two opposites. Based on the duration of work life indicators, a 15-year-old in American can expect to spend an average of 37.1 year of his or her life working. Given the average actual working hours of all employed people in USA, which is around 36.6 hours per week, as collected by statistic. And don't forget that an average person sleep for 8 hours in a day. That means that an average person will sleep for 229,000 hours in their lifetime, or basically one third of their life, or 26.25 years. So if I do a basic math, 37.1 plus 26.25, 63.35 years. So out of my whole life, 63.35 years, I am either working or sleeping. A calculation of how many hours of our lives should not count as life according to this misleading claim would probably trigger a major crisis. So, what it means, work is of course a part of life, and the very concept of work life balance is inherently polarizing and misleading. Another misleading concept is that more flexibility makes everything easier. Many employees experience more flexibility in their working lives, especially in terms of working hours, as a welcome development that enable them to better coordinate and attend appointments and activities outside of work. So the conclusion must be that more flexibility must obviously lead to a better work-life balance, right? Although this is not entirely wrong in principle, more flexibility can also be a challenge. More flexibility also means more organizational effort as well as fewer proper rest and work-free phases. This can be observed particularly well, for example, in the extended availability often expected in return for the flexibility even at undefined working hours. A business mobile phone ringing in the evening or at the weekend, for example, or noticeably reduces the subjective satisfaction with the balance of one's work life. However, more flexibility is, of course, not only an issue of working hours, but also of the place of work. This can be observed, for example, in our current life situation during the COVID lockdown period, in the context of the increased home office realities. A widespread experience of perceived blurring of work and non-work time shows how challenging flexibility with all its positive aspects can be for a good work-life balance. Work is a part of life, and therefore the term work-life balance is fundamentally misleading. However, the search for a better descriptive concept is not necessarily easy. For example, the idea of talking about a work-leisure balance is failed because work-free time is by no means pure leisure time. Even in non-working time, there are sufficient obligations like childcare, household management, doctor's appointment, etc., that we must fulfill and which are difficult to categorize as recreational time. So, why do people struggle with work-life balance? Some of the common reasons that lead to a proper and poor work-life balance include increased responsibility at work, working long hours, and increased responsibility at home. Uh, Multitasking is merely the opportunity to screw up more than one thing at a time. Yes, multitasking is more for computers. Multitasking is often discussed along with work-life balance. So, what is multitasking and how often it's used incorrectly? Let's try to find out. To understand the concept, let's go a little bit in history. The concept of humans doing more than one thing at a time has been studied by psychologists since the 1920s, but the term multitasking did not arrive on the scene until the 1960s. It was used to describe computers, not people. Back then, 10 megahertz was apparently so mind-boggling fast that a whole new word was needed to describe a computer's ability to quickly perform many tasks. In retrospect, they probably made a poor choice, for the expression multitasking is inherently deceptive. Multitasking is about multiple tasks, alternatively sharing one resources like the CPU, but in time the context was flipped and it became interpreted to mean multiple tasks being done simultaneously by one resource, a person. It was a clever turn of phrase that misleading, for even computers can process only one piece of code at a time. When they multitask, they switch back and forth, alternating their attention until both tasks are done. The speed with which computers tackle multiple tasks feeds the illusion that everything happened at the same time. So comparing computers to human can be confusing. People can actually do two or more things at once, such as walk and talk, or chewing gum, and read a map. But like computers, what we can't do is focus on two things at once. Our attention bounces back and forth. This is fine for computer, but it has serious repercussion in humans. Now it's time to show some statistic related to work-life balance. If you struggle with maintaining a work-life balance, you are not alone. Americans as a whole have a tough time separating work life from downtime compared with other countries. So what are the causes? While achieving work-life balance has increasingly become a corporate goal in the business world, studies indicate that most companies struggle to meet this ideal. Technology also to blame, since studies also indicated that technological innovations and employees' ability to be connected to rest of the employees around the clock have substantially disrupted effects. A disrupted work-life balance can also produce high level of stress, which can cause severe physical and mental health issues. An elevated stress level tends to have profound negative effect on your body. Research indicates that chronic stress can cause several health issues, including weakened immune system, making people more susceptible to cold, headaches, and muscle pain. Further studies demonstrate a correlation between increased disruption of work-life balance and increased level of mental stress. For instance, when compared with employees working 35 to 40 hours a week, comparing with the employees working more than 55 hours, they have more fatigue, more increased risk of stroke, they have double risk of heart attack, they are 1.66 times more likely to have depression and 1.74 times more likely to have anxiety. On the flip side, what are the benefits of work-life balance? There are various advantages to achieving a proper balance between work and life. Some of these benefits can make a person a more productive, loyal employee, and then of course it lower the stress, reduce turnover, more productive staff, and increase positive presence in the business community. What are the tips to achieve work-life balance? It may not always seem easy, but achieving work-life balance is possible. One of my personal favorite tip to achieve work-life balance is to define priorities. Because if you do not have priorities in life and you try to achieve everything all at once, then you never able to achieve work-life balance. One of my favorite book on this topic is The One Thing, The Surprisingly Simple Truth Behind Extraordinary Results by Gary Keller, where he has explained in a beautiful way how to prioritize your life. So one of the favorite saying on his book is, what's the one thing I can do such that by doing it, everything else will be easier or unnecessary? So in short, look at the big picture, your one thing in your life that you want to achieve, and then break it down and have a small focus. What is my one thing right now? And then focus on it, and then your work-life balance will be achieved automatically.